The side control, lesson number 1. In this lesson, we're going to go over Hodger's strategies to get from the side control to the mounted position. In my opinion, your primary objective from the side control should be to achieve the mount. And this is going to be the core technique in my series in which you achieve this. Starting first in the side control here. Thank you. Now, first talking about shoulder pressure and how I do shoulder pressure, because it's a little bit different than the norm. What I'm going to do with my left arm is I'm going to reach all the way towards the camera until my bicep has good connection with his carotid artery on this side. Once I've achieved that, I'm going to change the angle of my arm and put it underneath his armpit like this. So you can see it kind of curled underneath his armpit. And I do this primarily because when I assume the leg position that you're about to see, that I can lay all of my weight with good connection to his neck and chin. So once I've achieved this position, I'm going to assume the leg position as I actually showed in these half guard pass series. It's basically the exact same thing, Hodger's half guard pass, or at least one of them, to this side control to mount position. I assume this leg position right here. You might recognize this from the half guard pass series. Now I'm going to drop my head on the ground and I'm going to lay all of my weight and all of my pressure on my left bicep, consequently his face. So right here, I'll kind of ease up on Alex a little bit. Now, from this position, probably the worst thing that he can do is put his leg up, because my objective is going to be to cross his legs. And if he puts his leg up, it makes it pretty easy to do that. So when he's a little bit more tricky about that position, or he does it, you can do this right here. This is what you should do regardless of the situation. Right here, I'm going to pin in his arm, and almost your fingers are connected. And I'm going to start to walk in a counterclockwise motion like this. I'm going to walk until his hips turn in that direction. You notice his hips fell. Now, I'm going to take my right arm and lace it in between, and I'm going to cup his leg like this. Square up just a little bit. This is a really bad position because it's going to allow me to get a really good arm position on him. Now, if we're in the standard side control position, he's able to glue this elbow in towards the ground, making it next to impossible to fan open my leg and do this. You may have learned this before. I don't feel it works when his back is on the mat. He can just be real stubborn about this position and keep good contact with your hip. But when his hips are going in this direction and I'm putting in the shoulder pressure, this arm is hard to keep on the ground because, as you see, let's get a reverse angle here. As you see, when his arms are crossed here, it's going to be very difficult for him to drop this all the way to the ground. It doesn't mean much when he's in this position with his legs crossed, but his upper body is still flat on the mat. So from that position, what I'm going to do, actually let's give a reverse view on this. What I'm going to do from here is I'm going to bring my left leg in towards his butt and fan open my leg. Now I've got the position of his arm and my leg in an ideal position, ready to go to the mounted position. Here we go, same side. Now my head is going to be on the ground, and I'm going to take my right leg and drop my knee all the way to the ground. As I drop it to the ground, my left leg is going to come in on his lower back, ready to take a tight mount. From this position, I have two options with my right hand. Option number one is I cut behind the tricep, I pick it up, and then I take the mount. Option number two is I come underneath his shoulder and I mat crawl it up like this. Up until I start to circle up with him, head low, and I feel comfortable slapping my foot on the ground like this, gluing it to the ground and bringing it in. That's his moment of opportunity for escape. So you need to give it the most attention. It's focusing on this on the ground, because if not, he's going to get his leg underneath, maybe with this one here, bring this one right here, and escape like this, or some sort of variation there with him. So when you're in this position and you're almost in the mount, you need to be really patient. If his legs are all the way, ready to escape on this side, be patient. Just keep pressuring him until he cracks. Pressure, walk that high, and be patient most of all. Here's this move demonstrated at full speed. And even though it's at full speed, we're going to use a great amount of patience and pressure. Another angle. Let's do this side here. Practice this move a lot because it's going to be the core move in getting from the side control to the mounted position. This move is often used as a specific example by people who think that Hodger's techniques can only be utilized by Hodger. They see how easy it is for him to get his leg underneath his armpit and note how wide his base is when he's in this position. But I think by studying this technique, we can really understand how Hodger uses his weight concentrated on his opponent's neck, as well as a subtle manipulation of his opponent's hips to achieve his goals. Here, Hodger's working to circle his opponent around, working to cross his hips a little bit. Here he assumes the leg position shown in the lesson and crosses his leg. Notice the extreme shoulder pressure with his head on the ground. There, he's circled in his arm. Now he's going to drive his leg all the way across with his head on the ground, and since his opponent squared up his legs, he can just slap his leg onto the mat and take the cross choke. Here in Hodger versus Homolo, Homolo is the best one I've seen defend this pass. He kept it very crowded and difficult for Hodger to get this move. Note that Hodger with his left arm doesn't have ideal shoulder pressure underneath Homolo's armpit. From this position, he has his legs crossed. He's already got the good leg position, which is easy to miss at this angle, but if you go and rewatch, you can see it. Here, his head is going to be on the ground, and he's going to force his knee into that crowded situation on his midsection. From that position, he's going to use patience, because Homolo's already set up for an escape if he just tries to slap his legs over. He's going to wait for his legs to be uncrossed and wait for him to square up with him. They'll switch angles here. And as soon as he feels comfortable, he's going to slap that leg on the mat as soon as he squares up his legs. Here we get a good view of how he sets up ideal shoulder pressure. Note how it's underneath the armpit. And look at his opponent's reaction. He is reacting strongly because Hodger assumes that leg position and drives all the weight in. There was lots of real estate on his midsection, so he was able to get that pass right away. Here, Hodger is working from the side control from Levato. This specific match is one of the ones used as the example I described before. Crosses his legs and then gets that good leg position. Here, Levato doesn't seem too concerned when Hodger tries to pin his leg down to the mat with his left leg. So he's going to step over his own leg and then take the mounted position.